Picture a workbench under bright factory lights. Thick leather panels are laid out with surgical precision. Slowly, a massive luxury bag begins to take shape, crafted from an animal known less for fashion and more for one of the most unusual noses in the natural world. This is proboscis leather. At first glance, it raises an obvious question. How does a rare and highly regulated hide transform into a refined, high-end product meant for elite buyers? The answer begins long before a single stitch is made. Every usable hide enters the system through tightly controlled channels, shaped by international rules, inspections, and material standards. What arrives at the factory is not just raw leather, but a material already filtered by legality, quality, and scarcity. Inside the workshop, nothing moves fast. Craftspeople study each section of the hide, mapping out where strength, flexibility, and grain will best support the final design. Cuts are deliberate. Waste is minimized. Every decision affects durability, structure, and visual balance. This is not mass production. It is controlled craftsmanship, where rarity demands patience and precision. By the time the bag takes its final form, it represents far more than luxury. It reflects biology, regulation, engineering, and human skill combined into a product where every detail has a reason. And that's what makes the process as valuable as the finished bag itself. Proboscis leather sits at the far edge of the luxury market. It is not widely advertised, mass-produced, or commonly recognized by consumers. Instead, it appears in limited edition bags made in small quantities, often reserved for high-end buyers who value rarity as much as craftsmanship. In the world of luxury materials, scarcity itself becomes part of the appeal. The term proboscis refers to animals known for an extended nose or snout. In this context, the leather comes from a highly specific and tightly regulated animal source, making it fundamentally different from everyday materials like cow or goat leather. Because of biological traits, habitat limitations, and international trade controls, the raw material is difficult to obtain and expensive to process. These factors keep proboscis leather from ever becoming mainstream in global fashion. It's uncommon. Nature is not accidental. Strict regulations govern how, when, and if such materials can enter commercial supply chains. Before a hide reaches a factory floor, it passes through layers of legal oversight, documentation, and inspection. This controlled access is one reason proboscis leather remains a niche option, rather than a standard luxury material. Today, this process is drawing renewed attention. On one side, demand for unique and exotic materials continues to rise in the luxury sector, driven by consumers seeking distinction in a crowded market. On the other, governments, brands, and buyers are placing greater scrutiny on sourcing practices, sustainability, and transparency. This tension between exclusivity and accountability defines modern luxury manufacturing. Factories working with rare materials must now prove not only their craftsmanship, but also their compliance with evolving standards. As a result, the story behind the material has become just as important as the finished product. Understanding this balance helps explain why proboscis leather remains rare, expensive, and closely watched, and why its journey from source to showroom is far more complex than it appears. The process begins long before any factory work starts. With regulated sourcing, raw hides can only enter the supply chain through approved channels that meet legal and compliance requirements. Documentation, inspections, and transport controls ensure the material is traceable and authorized before it ever reaches a workshop. Without this step, production stops entirely. Once delivered, the hides go through initial preservation and grading. They are carefully cleaned to remove natural residue, then cured to prevent deterioration. Skilled technicians inspect each hide, sorting them by thickness, flexibility, and surface grain. Only hides that meet strict physical standards move forward. Many are rejected at this stage, reinforcing how limited the usable supply truly is. Next comes tanning, one of the most critical phases. Through carefully measured chemical treatments and controlled timing, the hide is transformed into stable leather that resists decay. This process strengthens the material while preserving its natural texture. Too much exposure can weaken the fibers, Too little can shorten the product's lifespan. Precision here determines quality later. After tanning, precision cutting begins. Craftspeople align cutting patterns to follow the natural grain, maximizing strength and visual consistency. Every cut is planned to reduce waste, since the material is both rare and expensive. Mistakes are not easily replaced. The hand assembly phase follows. Panels are stitched together in small batches, allowing close attention to seam strength, edge finishing, and reinforcement points. The step defines the bag's structure and long-term durability. Finally, shaping and polishing refine the product. The bag is molded, smoothed, and conditioned to achieve its final texture and form. Only after passing final inspections does branding occur, marking the completion of a long, tightly controlled transformation from raw hide to luxury object. Proboscis. Leather stands apart from standard materials long before it becomes a finished product. One of the most important differences is time. After tanning, this leather must undergo extended conditioning to allow its fibers to settle and stabilize. Compared to common cattle leather, which can be conditioned relatively quickly, proboscis leather demands a slower process. This added time helps prevent surface stress, uneven texture, and long-term wear issues. Quality standards further limit supply. During inspection, only a small percentage of processed hides qualify for luxury use. Even minor imperfections, subtle graining consistencies, slight thickness variation, or structural weakness can disqualify a hide. As a result, the majority never reach high-end workshops. This strict filtering ensures consistency, but it also sharply reduces output. Visually and physically, the leather tells a different story. Under light, its surface grain appears tighter and more complex than cow leather, which tends to have a smoother, more uniform look, compared to goat leather, known for its softness and flexibility. Proboscis leather often feels firmer while still maintaining controlled movement. These properties help luxury bags keep their shape while aging evenly over time. Limited output plays a direct role in price and exclusivity. When materials are scarce, processing takes longer, and rejection rates remain high. Fewer products reach the market. This naturally raises costs, but it also reinforces brand positioning. For luxury houses, small production runs create distinction. For buyers, owning such a bag signals access to something rare, controlled, and carefully made. In the luxury market, value is not just about appearance. It is built through time, selectivity, and constraint. Proboscis leather exemplifies how limitation itself becomes a defining feature of high-end craftsmanship. Quality control in luxury leather production is not a single checkpoint. It is a continuous process built into every stage of manufacturing. From the moment the leather enters the workshop, it is inspected multiple times for surface flaws, uneven tanning, and structural weakness. After cutting and stitching, seams are tested for strength and alignment. Any inconsistency, even one not visible to the casual eye, can prevent a product from moving forward. This attention to detail is reinforced by compliance requirements. Materials used in rare or regulated leather goods must meet international wildlife trade and sourcing regulations before production begins. Documentation audits and traceability systems are designed to confirm that materials enter the supply chain legally and responsibly. For manufacturers, failing to meet these standards can mean financial penalties or loss of production rights. Sustainability is also addressed through waste reduction. Because the material is limited and expensive, factories plan cutting patterns carefully to maximize usable surface area. Offcuts that cannot be used in main products are often repurposed for smaller accessories, testing samples, or internal reinforcement components. Controlled batch sizes further reduce excess production and unnecessary material loss. At the same time, the industry faces growing pressure to balance craftsmanship with ethical accountability. Consumers, regulators, and brands increasingly expect transparency about where materials come from and how they are processed. Luxury alone is no longer enough. Responsibility now plays a role in defining quality. As a result, modern factories must meet two expectations at once. They must deliver precise, high-end craftsmanship while also demonstrating respect for legal, environmental, and ethical standards. Quality control and sustainability are no longer separate concerns. Together, they shape how luxury manufacturing operates and how it will be judged in the future. In the end, the finished luxury bag represents far more than a functional accessory. It is the result of layered decisions that begin with biology and extend through regulation, material science, and human craftsmanship. Every choice what material is allowed, how it is processed, and where it is shaped leaves a mark on the final product. Unlike mass-produced goods, luxury bags are built around controlled precision. Production is intentionally limited. Each stage favors accuracy over speed and consistency over volume. This approach ensures durability, structure, and visual balance. But it also defines what luxury truly means. It is not about how many items can be made, but how carefully each one is made. Looking ahead, the future of exotic luxury manufacturing is likely to evolve. Regulatory oversight continues to expand, shaping which materials can be used and how they are sourced. At the same time, advances in material science may offer alternatives that mimic rare textures, while reducing pressure on limited resources. Consumer awareness is also growing, with buyers paying closer attention to transparency, ethics, and long-term impact. Together, these forces are redefining the industry. Luxury brands are no longer judged solely by appearance or price, but by responsibility and innovation. Factories that adapt by improving traceability, refining processes, and exploring new materials are more likely to endure. The story of a luxury bag, then, is not just about style. It is about how modern manufacturing navigates scarcity,